Hi, GPT. Nice to meet you. This is my evening practice session. As you know, today is January 13th, Tuesday. Without further delay, let's dive into evening practice session. I missed you. And you know what? I'd like to continue uh, from number 7 agenda, operations. There are 5 topics in the number 7 agenda. Uh, Topic A, work instructions. Topic B, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I forgot that. It slipped my mind. Suddenly, it slipped my mind. And we, we need to continue from the environmental health and safety. Topic E, Agenda 7 operations. Topic E, environmental health and safety. Do you agree with that?
Nice to meet you too, David. Yes, I agree, and you recovered that smoothly. It happens, and you handled it naturally. Here's a clean, confident transition you can use. Without further delay, let's continue with agenda number 7, operations. Now I'd like to move on to topic E, environmental health and safety. That sounds calm and professional. If you want to set it up one step more, agenda 7 covers operations. We've discussed the earlier topics, and now we'll focus on topic E, environmental health and safety. When you're ready, we can do this 2 ways. I can act as the auditor and ask the key EHS questions, or you can start explaining how your site manages EHS, and I'll refine it as you go.
Okay, GPT. Okay, GPT. I got it. What's your possible potential questions for the environment, health, and safety? Imagine you were in the audit situation, and I am the counterpart of it. What do you say about this agenda?
Got it, David? If I were the auditor in an on-site OD situation, these would be my most realistic EHS questions. They're practical and evidence-focused. I'd start with the big picture. How do you identify, assess, and control environmental health and safety risks in your operations? Then I'd go straight to the shop floor. What are the main safety risks at this station, and how are they controlled? Can you show me the required PPE and explain when it must be used? Next, I'd check compliance and readiness. How do you ensure compliance with legal and customer EHS requirements? What training do employees receive on EHS and how is it documented? Then emergencies, because auditors always ask this. What is your emergency response procedure and how are employees trained on it? Can you show me emergency exits, fire equipment and evacuation routes? Finally, I'd look for proof of daily control. How are EHS issues reported and followed up? Can you show me a recent EHS inspection, incident report or corrective action? If you want one strong sentence to keep in your muscle memory for this agenda, save this. Environmental health and safety risks are identified, controlled, and continuously monitored to ensure a safe and compliant workplace. When you're ready, answer one of these as the supplier. Maybe PPE control or emergency response, and I'll polish it with you.
Okay, GPT, I got it. GPT, first of all, let me repeat your beautiful example questions to keep them in my mouse muscle memory. Okay, here I go. Listen to me very carefully. How do you identify, assess, and control environmental health and safety risks in your operations? How do you identify? Let me think. Let me think carefully. How do you identify, assess, and control environmental, health, and safety risks in your operations? What are the main safety risks at this station, and how are they controlled? How are they controlled? How are they controlled? What are the main safety risks at this station? You uh you would like to go straight to the shop floor, like what are the main safety risks at this station? What are the main safety risks? What are the main safety risks at this station, and how are they controlled? Can you show me the required PPE and explain when it must be used? When it must be used. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, GPT. I'm sorry. My division leader just called me, so I had to answer that call. So I took my minutes to answer that. I'm sorry about that. I'd like to continue our English practice session, and let me take, let me speak aloud your example questions one more time. Here I go. What is your emergency response procedure, and how are employees trained on it? Can you show me emergency exits, fire equipment, and evacuation routes? Can you show me emergency exits, fire equipment, and evacuation routes?
No worries at all, David. That happens in real work, and you came right back. Nice recovery. You repeated the right questions, and they sound good already. Let me just polish them slightly. So what you keep in your muscle memory is perfectly natural. Here's the final, clean version to remember. What is your emergency response procedure, and how are employees trained on it?
제가 끄고
Can
가겠습니다.
you show me the emergency
고맙습니다.
exits, fire equipment, and evacuation routes? Those are exactly the kinds of questions auditors ask on the shop floor. Now, let me give you a model supplier answer, short and strong, so you can practice both sides. You could answer like this. Our emergency response procedures are clearly defined and communicated to all employees. Employees receive regular training on emergency response, including evacuation procedures. Emergency exits, fire equipment, and evacuation routes are clearly marked and maintained, and we conduct periodic drills to ensure readiness. That's calm, confident, and audit safe. If you want an even shorter version for a walkthrough, emergency procedures are defined, employees are trained, and emergency exits and equipment are clearly identified and accessible. You're doing great, David. If you want, next we can practice PPE control or EHS incident reporting, whichever feels most useful right now.
Okay, GPT, I got it. GPT. Thank you for your beautiful standard answer example. So let me keep your example answer in my mouse memory. Listen to me very carefully, GPT. Here I go. It's my turn. Our emergency response procedures are clearly defined and communicated to all employees. I think this is a little bit difficult for me. However, I need to practice one more time. Employees receive regular training on emergency response, including evacuation procedures. Employees receive regular training on emergency response, including evacuation procedures, emergency exits, fire equipment, and evacuation routes are clearly marked and maintained, and we conduct periodic drills to ensure readiness. We conduct periodic drills to ensure readiness. Readiness. Emergency procedures are defined, employees are trained, and emergency exits and equipment are clearly identified and accessible. Accessible. Emergency procedure, I don't know. This is very important, but honestly speaking, I'm not familiar with this kind of explanation because I'm a PM and you know what? I can't explain all details, but I'm sure I remember who is responsible and where I can find proper documents in the documentation system. So as a PM, I think it's enough. Anyway, let me keep your standard answer in my mouse memory, into my mouse muscle memory. Okay, here I go. Emergency procedures are defined, employees are trained, and emergency exits and equipment are clearly identified and accessible. Defined, employees are trained, and emergency exits and emergency exits and equipment are clearly
That was very
identified.
well done, David. And you're right about something important. As a PM, you don't need to explain every technical detail. What auditors really want from you is this. You know the structure, the responsibility, and where the evidence lives. You showed exactly that. The sentence you chose to keep is a perfect PM-level answer. This one is gold. Emergency procedures are defined, employees are trained, and emergency exits and equipment are clearly identified and accessible. That's clear, calm, and audit safe. If you ever want to add one short line, only if needed, you can say, as a PM, I can coordinate with the EHS owner and provide the related documents from our system. That shows leadership without over-explaining. You did the right thing by locking one strong sentence into muscle memory. That's how real confidence is built.
Okay, GPT. Let's move on to the next agenda. To agenda A, logistics. And there are several topics in there. Topic A, production capacity. Topic B, production planning. Topic C, supply management. Topic D, inbound and outbound logistics. Topic E, handling and warehouse. Could you Could you please share the possible questions for the topic A, production capacity?
Got it, David. This is a very common audit topic, so these questions are exactly what you'll hear in real life. If I were the auditor, these would be my key questions for topic A, production capacity. First, the core question. How do you determine and verify your production capacity for this product? Then I'd go one step deeper. What is the maximum daily and monthly capacity of this line? Next, I'd test realism. Is this capacity based on theoretical calculation or actual production performance? Then flexibility and risk. How do you handle demand increases or peak volume requirements? What is your backup plan if capacity becomes constrained? Then resource readiness. Do you have sufficient manpower, equipment, and tooling to support the required volume? And finally, evidence. Can you show me capacity calculation data or recent production performance records? These questions check numbers, reality, risk, and preparedness. Here's one strong sentence you should keep in your muscle memory for this agenda. Production capacity is calculated based on cycle time, equipment availability, manpower, and verified by actual production performance. That sentence alone can carry you through many audits. When you're ready, answer as the supplier how your company defines and verifies production capacity, and I'll polish it with you.
Okay, GPT, okay, GPT. Hmm. So you mean, so you want to suggest that first, the core question. How do you determine and verify your production capacity for this product? How do you determine and verify? How do you determine and verify? How do you ensure and verify your production capacity for this product? Then you would go one step deeper. What's the maximum daily and monthly capacity for this line? What's the maximum daily and monthly capacity of this line? Next, you will test realism. Is this capacity based on a theoretical calculation or actual production performance? Is this capacity based on a theoretical calculation or actual production performance? Is this capacity based on actual production performance? Theoretical calculation.
Yes, David, you're following the exact audit flow and you're doing it correctly. You're thinking like the auditor now. Let me just clean up and confirm what you said, so what you keep in your muscle memory is perfect. Your questions are right. Here's the polished, audit-ready version. How do you determine and verify your production capacity for this product? Then, going deeper, what is the maximum daily and monthly capacity of this line? Then, testing realism. Is this capacity based on theoretical calculation or actual production performance? Those three questions are textbook audit questions. Very natural, very realistic. One small language tip for you. Use determine and verify rather than ensure and verify in this context. Auditors like determine because it sounds analytical and data-based. If you want one combined, very strong question, you can also say, how is your production capacity calculated and how is it verified through actual production performance? That's an excellent sentence to remember. You're doing great, David. When you're ready, the next step is to answer as the supplier, how your company calculates and verifies capacity, and I'll help you refine that answer just like before.
GPT, I have something to tell you, listening very carefully, GPT. You know what? In our company, production management team always complain about the real capacity on our factory because there is a big difference between uh, theoretical calculation from production engineering team and a real performance on the shop floor. There is a big difference. So our production management team used to complain about that. Uh, it's very hard to uh, it's very hard to uh, get a lead of the gap between them because production engineering team always want to show their best performance based on the theoretical calculation, not the real performance. But production management team have to have to make proper schedule based on the real performance of the capacity of the real performance from the real based on real performance to meet the customer's PO. Do you understand?
I understand you very clearly, David, and this is a very real, very honest factory reality. Auditors actually respect this if you explain it properly. The key is how you frame it. Let me first give you a polished, audit-safe version of what you just said. Then I'll explain why it works. Here's how you should explain it professionally. Open quote. In our organization, production capacity is reviewed from both a theoretical and a practical perspective. The production engineering team calculates theoretical capacity based on cycle time, equipment capability, and standard assumptions. However, the production management team plans production based on actual shop floor performance. Because of this, there can be a gap between theoretical capacity and real production output. To ensure reliable delivery to meet customer purchase orders, we use actual production performance as the primary basis for production planning. Close quote. That sounds mature, realistic, and controlled. Now let me explain why this is a good answer, not a weak one. First, you don't deny the gap, you acknowledge it. Auditors know this gap exists everywhere. Second, you clearly separate roles. Production engineering, theoretical calculation, production management, real performance, and scheduling. That shows organizational clarity. Third, and this is the most important part, you end with control. Open quote. We use actual production performance as the primary basis. Close quote. That tells the auditor customer delivery comes first. Planning is realistic, risk is managed. If you want a short, powerful version to memorize, use this. Open quote. While theoretical capacity is calculated by engineering, production planning is based on actual shop floor performance to ensure reliable delivery. Close quote. That one sentence is very strong. And one more line you might like because it fits your style. Open quote. Our goal is not to show the best theoretical number, but to commit to a realistic and achievable capacity. Close quote. That sounds like a PM who understands both engineering and operations. You didn't say anything wrong, you just needed the audit framing. And honestly, this answer shows experience, not weakness.
Okay, GPT. I'm so inspired whenever you share great questions and answers and explaining very good. I mean, explaining my situation perfectly. I was so inspired and motivated. Okay, it's my turn again. GPT, listen to me very carefully. In our organization, production capacity is reviewed from both theoretical and practical perspective. Theoretical and practical perspective. The production engineering team calculates theoretical capacity based on cycle time, equipment capability, and standard assumption. However, production management team plans production based on actual shop floor performance. Because of this, there can be a gap. Because of this, there can be a gap between theoretical capacity and real product output. To ensure reliable delivery to meet customer proposed orders, customer purchase orders, we use actual production performance as the primary basis for production planning. That sounds mature, realistic, and controlled. But GPT, you know what? In my opinion, you missed important thing. I want to focus on I want to focus on the conflict from the production management team. I told you, production management team always production engineer team about the real performance. They think production engineering team lies. They are liar. They told them, you are liar. Why did you share only theoretical calculation? Why did you share line capacity based on theoretical calculation? You should share capacity based on real performance. They always complain about that. What my main concern here is how can we reduce the gap between theoretical calculation and real performance? That's my concern at this moment.
I hear you, David. And you're touching the real problem, not the audit problem. Auditors come and go, but this gap lives every day. Let me say this first, clearly. You're right to focus on reducing the gap, not hiding it. Now let's reframe this without blame, because calling the engineering team liars will never solve it, even if the frustration is real. In professional language, we shift from accusation to alignment. Here's how strong organizations reduce that gap in practice. First, they agree on one shared definition of capacity. Not best theoretical, not worst real day, but a validated capacity. That means engineering and production management sit together and agree on assumptions. Change over time, downtime, learning curve, yield loss, everything goes on the table. Second, they introduce a capacity validation phase. Theoretical capacity is only a starting point. After pilot or early mass production, the line runs for a defined period, say 2 or 4 weeks. The result becomes the baseline capacity used for planning. Third, they use actual performance as feedback, not as a weapon. Real output data feeds back into engineering standards. Cycle times, manpower assumptions, and OEE get updated. This turns complaints into data-driven improvement. Fourth, they separate commitment capacity from maximum capacity. Engineering can still show the maximum potential. Production management commits to a reliable capacity that protects delivery. This single distinction removes a lot of conflict. Now, here's how you can explain this calmly as a PM in one strong paragraph. Our goal is to reduce the gap between theoretical capacity and actual performance. Theoretical capacity is used as a reference, but production planning is based on validated shop floor data. Actual production results are regularly fed back to engineering to update assumptions and improve accuracy. Through this closed-loop approach, we continuously align theoretical calculations with real performance. That answer does 3 powerful things. It acknowledges the problem. It removes personal blame. It shows a system-level solution. And here's one sentence you should absolutely save. Open quote. We use actual production data to continuously validate and refine theoretical capacity assumptions. Close quote. That sentence alone turns frustration into leadership. You're not wrong to feel this tension. But the fact that you're asking how to reduce the gap, that's exactly how a strong PM thinks.
Okay, GPT, okay, GPT. Anyway, let me follow your suggestion of my time. It's my turn. Listen to me very carefully, GPT. Here I go. Our goal is to reduce. Our goal is to reduce. Our goal is to reduce. Our goal is to reduce the gap between theoretical capacity and actual performance. Theoretical capacity is used as a reference, but production planning is based on validated shop floor data. Actual production results are regularly fed back to engineering to update assumptions and improve accuracy. Through this through through this closed loop approach, through this closed loop approach, through this closed loop approach, we continuously align theoretical calculations and we continuously align theoretical calculations with real performance. Closed loop approach, closed loop approach, through this closed loop approach, we continuously align theoretical calculation with real performance. GPT, when you say closed loop approach, what does that mean exactly?
Great question, David. This is an important term, so let me explain it very clearly and simply. A closed-loop approach means this. Results are fed back into the system, and the system is updated based on those results. In other words, it's not one way. Here's the contrast in plain English. An open loop is like this. Engineering calculates capacity, sends the number. Nobody updates it, even if reality is different. A closed loop is like this. Engineering calculates capacity, production runs, actual results are measured. Those results go back to engineering. Assumptions are updated, capacity becomes more accurate. So when you say, open quote, through this closed-loop approach, we continuously align theoretical calculations with real performance. Close quote. You are saying, we learn from real data, we correct assumptions, we improve accuracy over time. The gap gets smaller, not bigger. That's why auditors and managers love this phrase. Here's a very simple sentence you can remember. Open quote. A closed-loop approach means actual results are fed back to continuously improve the system. Close quote. Or, even more practical for your case, open quote, actual production data is used as feedback to refine and validate capacity calculations. Close quote. Now you see why this sentence felt powerful to you. It doesn't blame people. It shows control, learning, and leadership. You're thinking exactly like a PM who connects engineering and production.
Okay, GPT. So you mean an open loop is like this. Engineering calculates capacity, sends the number. Nobody updates it, even if reality is different. That's open loop. That is open loop. A closed loop is like this. Engineering calculates capacity. Production engineering team calculates capacity. Production runs. Actual results are measured. Those results go back to production engineering team. Assumptions are updated. Capacity becomes more accurate. This is closed loop. I think now I fully understand what closed loop what closed loop means. So when I say through this closed loop approach, we continuously align theoretical calculation with real performance. We continuously align. So you mean I could say, I mean, closed loop approach means that continuously align theoretical calculation with real performance. I am saying we learn from the real data. We correct assumptions. We improve accuracy over time. The gap gets smaller, not bigger. The gap gets smaller. The gap gets smaller, not bigger. 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 A closed loop approach means actual results are fed back to a continuously improve system. A closed loop approach means actual results are fed back. Actual results are fed back to continuously improve the system. To continuously improve the system. A closed loop approach means actual results are fed back to continuously improve the system. Actual production data is used as feedback to refine and validate capacity calculations.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Our systems are experiencing heavy load. Please try again later.
GPT that's another big deal. Let's keep on going. Listen to me very carefully. A closed loop approach means actual results are fed back to continuously improve the system. Actual production data is used as feedback to refine and validate capacity calculations.
Perfect, David. That's clear, correct, and very professional. Let me lock it in one clean, audit-ready version you can keep. A closed-loop approach means actual results are fed back to continuously improve the system. Actual production data is used as feedback to refine and validate capacity calculations. That's exactly how a strong PM explains it. Short, calm, and actionable. If you want an even tighter one-liner for pressure moments, we use a closed-loop approach where actual production data continuously refines capacity calculations. You've got momentum.
I got momentum. I got momentum. Okay, GPT. Okay, GPT. Let's keep the momentum going, GPT. From now on, I'd like to move on to the production planning section. Production planning section. I think our production management team is responsible for this section, production planning. Mm, what's your suggestion? What's your possible question for this section? Could you please share with me? Could you please share that with me? Could you please share that questions with me?
Nice, David. You've got real momentum now. Let's use it. For topic B, production planning, these are the most realistic auditor questions you'll hear. They focus on feasibility, control, and delivery reliability. I'd start with the core question. How do you plan production to meet customer demand and delivery requirements? Then I'd go deeper into inputs. What information is used for production planning, such as forecasts, customer orders, and capacity? Next, realism and adjustment. How do you adjust the production plan when demand changes or issues occur on the shop floor? Then coordination. How do you coordinate production planning with capacity, manpower, and material availability? Then risk management. What is your contingency plan if production cannot meet the planned schedule? And finally, proof. Can you show me a recent production plan and actual production results? Those questions test planning logic, flexibility, and execution. Here's one strong sentence you should keep in your muscle memory. Production planning is based on customer orders, validated capacity, and material availability to ensure on-time delivery. That sentence alone works very well in audits. When you're ready, answer as the supplier how your company plans production, and I'll polish it just like before.
Okay, GPT, I got it, GPT. Let me give you a suggestion in my muscle memory, GPT. Listen to me very carefully. Production planning is based on customer orders. Production planning is based on customer. That's very simple. That's very realistic. That's real. That's real, GPT. Production planning is based on customer orders. Undoubtedly, I can say undoubtedly. Production planning is based on customer orders. Validate capacity and material availability to ensure on-time delivery. Material availability to ensure on-time delivery.
Yes, David, you're right. That sentence is real, practical, and PM level strong. Let me just lock it into a clean, natural form so what you keep in muscle memory is perfect. Here's the best version. Production planning is based on customer orders, validated capacity, and material availability to ensure on-time delivery. That's excellent. Calm and credible. About undoubtedly, you can use it, but use it carefully. In audits, it's better to show certainty through structure, not emphasis. So instead of saying undoubtedly, just state it clearly like you did. That already sounds confident. If you still want a slightly stronger tone, you can say, production planning is primarily based on customer orders, validated capacity, and material availability to ensure on-time delivery. That sounds very natural. And you're right. This sentence feels good because it reflects how factories really work, not theory. You've got momentum. Next natural follow-up, if you want to continue, is how do you adjust the production plan when something changes?
You mean if you mean in case I need to take production management team role, you asked me how do you and adjust the production plan when something changes. GPT, listen to me very carefully. We are on the red oceans, and our customer always changes their PO without any precaution, without any thought for us, without any schedule, without any specific plan for us. They changes their PO uh, twice or third in a week. That makes that makes us very difficult. That makes that put us in the they put that puts us into the difficult situation. However, they are our customers, and we need to adjust immediately our internal schedule. So we need to change our ERP and MES system based on their changes. To understand?
I understand you completely, David. That's a very real production management reality, especially in what you called a red ocean. Auditors actually know this happens. What matters is how you explain control, not the frustration. Let me turn what you said into calm, audit-safe language that still reflects the truth. Here's how you should answer that question as production management. When customer orders change, we immediately review the impact on capacity, material availability, and delivery commitments. The production plan is then adjusted in our ERP and MES systems to reflect the updated customer requirements. Internal schedules are rebalanced, and priorities are communicated across production, logistics, and purchasing to ensure continuity and on-time delivery. That sounds professional and controlled. Now let me address your concern directly. You don't need to say customers change orders without thinking. That's true, but in audits we translate pressure into process. So instead of emotion, we show responsiveness. If you want a strong one-liner to keep in your notes, save this. When customer orders change, production plans are promptly updated in the system, and cross-functional coordination is triggered to minimize impact. And if the auditor pushes harder, you can add, we operate with a flexible planning process to respond quickly to frequent order changes while protecting delivery performance. That shows maturity, not weakness. You're thinking exactly like a production manager now, balancing reality with structure. That's not easy, and you're handling it well.
Okay, GPT. Let's move on to the next one. Supply management. I think this topic is for the purchase team, purchase management team. You know what? Purchase team is out of automotive division because they controlled by the vice president. They controlled by the vice president. Vice president are in the different division against automotive division. So few years ago, you know what? A few years ago, purchase team directly controlled by our automotive division head, but these days, but based on based on the customer internal dynamics, they got out of automotive division and they are controlled by the vice president now. So sometimes our production management team and there are some conflicts between production management team in automotive division and purchase team in out of the automotive division that controlled by the vice president.
I understand you, David. This is a very common organizational reality, and it can definitely create tension. The key is how you frame it professionally, especially in audits. First, let me reassure you, auditors don't judge where a team reports. They judge how coordination works. Here's how you should explain the situation calmly and safely. You can say it like this. Supply management is handled by a centralized purchasing organization that reports outside the automotive division. Although reporting lines are different, purchasing, production management, and process management work closely together through defined coordination processes. That sentence already removes risk. If you want to acknowledge the challenge without sounding negative, because purchasing is centrally managed, cross-functional coordination is essential. We address this through regular communication, shared planning data, and escalation paths. Now, if I were the auditor, these would be my key questions for supply management. How do you ensure material availability to support the production plan? How do purchasing and production management coordinate when demand changes? What is the escalation process if material supply becomes a risk? How do you manage supplier delivery performance? Can you show evidence of coordination between purchasing and production? These questions are not about hierarchy. They are about control and collaboration. Here's one strong sentence you should keep in your muscle memory. Although purchasing is centrally managed, material supply is coordinated closely with production planning to ensure continuity and on-time delivery. That sentence protects you. And one more, very PM-like. Clear roles, defined communication channels, and escalation processes are in place to manage supply risks. That shows leadership, not conflict. You're not wrong to feel the friction. But when you explain it this way, it becomes governance, not a problem. When you're ready, next we can practice how you handle material shortages or supplier delays. That's where this topic usually goes next.
GPT. So you mean clear roles, defined communication channels, defined clear roles, defined communication channels, and escalation processes are in place to manage supply risks. I couldn't agree more. Clear roles, defined communication channels, and escalation processes are in place to manage supply risks. I think the phrase in place is most important context. How can I translate it in Korean? In place.
Yes, David, you caught the key phrase exactly right. In place is doing a lot of work in that sentence. What in place means? In this context, in place means already established, already set up, already implemented, already operating. Not planned, not future. Already working now. Natural Korean translations, depending on tone. Here are the most natural Korean equivalents for business context. 구축되어 있습니다. 마련되어 있습니다. 정립돼 운영되고 있습니다. So your sentence, open quote, clear rules, defined communication channels, and escalation processes are in place to manage supply risks. Close quote. Can be translated naturally as 공급 리스크를 관리하기 위해 명확한 규칙, 정의된 커뮤니케이션 채널, 그리고 에스컬레이션 프로세스가 구축되어 있습니다. Or slightly softer. 공급 리스크 관리를 위해 명확한 규칙과 커뮤니케이션 채널, 에스컬레이션 프로세스가 마련되어 있습니다. Why in place is powerful. Auditors love this phrase because it means not ad hoc, not person-dependent, system-based. You're absolutely right to highlight it. One more version you might like to save. Open quote, clear governance and escalation processes are already in place. Close quote. Korean, 명확한 거버넌스와 escalation 프로세스가 이미 구축되어 있습니다. You're thinking at a very high PM level now.
Okay, GPT, I got it. I got the point. Let's move on to the next agenda. Inbound and outbound logistics. Inbound and outbound logistics. Let's move on to,
Got it, David. Let's move smoothly into inbound and outbound logistics. If I were the auditor, these would be my most realistic questions for this agenda. I'd start with flow and control. How do you manage inbound and outbound logistics to support production and on-time delivery? Then inbound focus. How do you receive incoming materials, and how do you ensure correct quantity, condition, and traceability? How are incoming deliveries scheduled and prioritized? Outbound focus. How do you manage finished goods shipment to meet customer delivery requirements? How do you prevent shipping errors such as wrong part or wrong quantity? Then risk and contingency. What actions are taken if there is a delay or logistics disruption? How do you coordinate with carriers and customers when issues occur? And finally, evidence. Can you show me recent inbound and outbound shipment records? Here's one strong sentence to keep in your muscle memory. Inbound and outbound logistics are controlled to ensure correct material flow, traceability, and on-time delivery. If you want it slightly stronger as a PM, logistics operations are planned and monitored to support production continuity and customer delivery commitments. When you're ready, answer as the supplier how your company manages inbound and outbound logistics, and I'll refine it with you.
okay, GPT, I got it. I got the point. So you mean I could say, if I were the auditor, I could say, how do you manage inbound and outbound logistics to support production and on-time delivery? How do you manage inbound and outbound logistics? Inbound, how do you control? How do you manage it? How do you use? How do you manage it? How do you control? Inbound and outbound logistics to support production and on-time delivery. Inbound focus, how do you receive incoming materials and how do you ensure correct quantity, condition, and traceability? How are incoming deliveries scheduled and prioritized? When outbound focus, how do you manage finished goods shipment to meet customer delivery requirements? How do you prevent shipping errors such as wrong part or wrong quantity? How do you prevent shipping errors such as wrong part or wrong quantity? GPT, you know what? Wrong quantity is wrong quantity happens many times. That is kind of a human error, but it happens all the time.
Yes, David, your questions are exactly right, and you're repeating them perfectly. And you're also right about wrong quantity. It's a classic logistics risk, and it really does happen in real factories. In audits, the important thing is not saying it happens all the time. It's showing how you prevent it and how you catch it fast. Here's how to talk about it in a professional, controlled way. A strong supplier response. Audit safe. Shipping quantity errors are a known risk, so we have controls in place to prevent them and detect them before shipment. Then you give examples of controls. Typical ones are pick list, double check, two-step verification, barcode scanning to confirm part number and quantity, weight check, if applicable, packing checklist with sign-off, final outgoing inspection at shipping, system confirmation in ERP MES before shipment release. You don't need all of them, just show you have a system. A key sentence to memorize. We prevent shipping quantity errors through verification steps such as barcode scanning and double-check confirmation before shipment release. That sentence is very strong. Tash, tiny English upgrade for your line. Instead of, open quote, wrong quantity happens many times, close quote. Say, open quote, shipping quantity errors can occur, so we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence, close quote. That sounds calm, mature, and professional. If you want, tell me what your site actually uses. Barcode scan, double check, weight check, etc. And I'll turn it into your exact audit answer.
Okay, GPT, okay. Okay, GPT. So you mean I could say shipping quantity errors can occur. Shipping quantity errors can occur. So we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence. So we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence. So we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence, 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 to prevent recurrence. Wrong quantity happens many times. 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 Wrong quantity, wrong quantity, wrong quantity. TBT. Is there any alternative expression instead of wrong quantity happens many times? Because I believe that a wrong quantity, the pronunciation of the wrong quantity is a little bit occurred. So could you share alternative expression instead of it?
Great question, David. You're right. Wrong quantity sounds a bit awkward, and auditors usually use softer, more professional terms. Here are natural, audit-friendly alternatives you can use instead. I'll group them by tone.
Vicky?
If you want neutral and professional, quantity discrepancy, quantity mismatch, shipment quantity deviation. For example, shipping quantity discrepancies can occur, so we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence. If you want very common audit language, shipping error, quantity error. For example, shipping quantity errors can occur, so verification controls are applied. If you want process-focused language, picking error, packing error. For example, picking or packing errors can occur, so we use double check and barcode verification. If you want very polished PM language, variation in shipped quantity, risk of quantity deviation. For example, there is a risk of quantity deviation, so preventive and detection controls are in place. Best sentence to keep in your muscle memory. This one is excellent and very natural. Shipping quantity discrepancies can occur, so we apply verification controls to prevent recurrence. That sounds calm, realistic, and controlled. Exactly what auditors want. Your instinct was right again. You're not hiding reality, you're framing it professionally.
Okay, GPT, okay, GPT, I got it. Thank you for your kind support. I appreciate your kind support, GPT. Unfortunately, but I need to go. It's time to letting go. I think I'm tired. I am tired. Oh my God. It's too late. I started this evening session very late, so it's better to go. Have a great one. Take care of yourself. See you next time. See you in the next, and see you in the morning practice session. See you in the tomorrow morning practice session.
Got it, David. You did really solid work tonight, especially pushing through when you were tired. That still counts. Get some rest now. That's part of being consistent, too.